All season for our Friday Farm Reports, we have spent a ton of time focusing in on the three prospects that are most MLB ready in the Mets farm system: Francisco Alvarez, Baty, and Mark Vientos. On the show today, I'm going to talk about some of the other position players like Alex Ramirez and Ronny Mauricio that are a little bit further away, but could still bring big impact to the Mets in the future. We will also preview the Mets' upcoming series against the Miami Marlins.
Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now you look at the Mets farm system, and their top 7 prospects are all position players. Then you get 16 of the top 30, though, that are pitchers. So there's a lot of top heaviness to this Mets farm. And if you go past that top 7 that are position players, the other, 7 prospects that are position players aren't necessarily the type of prospects that you can really put a ton of stock into. You got 4 of them that are 18 years old or younger. You have 2 in Nick Plummer and Khalil Lee, who have been on the Mets 40-man roster this year. We've seen them. There's still maybe a little bit of hope with Khalil Lee, but overall, these really aren't long-term prospects for the Mets anymore. They're guys that are almost aging out of the system. The only guy we could talk about outside of the top 7 who is over 18 years old and technically a little bit closer is Stanley Consuegra, but he's 23, or no, he's 21. He comes in at number 23 on the list, but he wouldn't be a top 30 prospect on most, MLB farm systems that are deep. This is kind of a product of the Mets having a little bit of a thinner farm system, particularly at the back end. So that gets me to the top 7. And you look at the top 7 for the Mets in no particular order, depending on which outlet you look at. It's obviously the 3 we've talked about all year: Alvarez, Baty, Vientos. You have Ronny Mauricio, we spent a fair amount of time talking about this year as well. You then have Alex Ramirez, who is maybe the breakout prospect of the farm this year. And then you have the 2 guys they just drafted early, in Kevin Parada and Jett Williams. Those are the guys I want to talk about today, those 4, because these are guys that if the Mets graduate Baty, Vientos, and Alvarez next year, which seems like a very realistic possibility considering the fact that we already saw Baty. Vientos theoretically could have been up at any point this season. And Alvarez, I think a lot of people believe that he has a chance to break camp as the opening day catcher. If not, at least at some point next season, get the call. That just brings you back to these other 4 guys and wonder what's the Mets farm system going to look like when the 3 guys that are closest graduating. And I want to start with Ronny Mauricio because you look at his season now, and if you remember, I went out May and saw all of the different levels up in the Northeast of the Mets farm, and Ronny Mauricio was the guy I came back raving about, despite the fact that he was the one I was the most skeptical of going into the trip. And that just shows you the type of player he can be. And you can watch one game of Ronny Mauricio like I did and come away saying that guy could be the best prospect in the Mets farm system. And then you look at 113 games of data on him. He's a free swinger who's swinging way too much. He does have the pop that entices you. He is an extra base hit away from 50 on the season. He's got 24 home runs, 24 doubles, 1 triple. He has 79 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, although he's been caught 9 times, but his on-base percentage is below 300. So you're talking about a 285 on-base percentage in double. What's that going to look like when pitchers really start to pitch to your weaknesses more? Because right now in double, a lot of these prospects are still pitching to their strengths more than looking at Ronny Mauricio and saying, how can I get this guy out? He's a guy I really got to scout against. They're just going up and they're working on their stuff. So you get him in a triple, and suddenly guys are saying, okay, well, he's swinging at everything. Let's really expand the zone. Not to say that's not happening already, but it'll only happen more and more the further along he gets, the more advanced he gets. And it just leads me to wonder what's his real value to the Mets, because We thought he could be moved at the deadline. He was not. I don't know with Ronny Mauricio if he's the type of prospect that can really get you something big in a trade. And if not, then you're saying, all right, well, what can he be for your team one day at 21 years old? You're just hoping that he continues to develop. But next year, where do you put him? I mean, do you keep him right back in Double A because he hasn't quite dominated that league, even though he spent the entire year there? I would think so. But then if he goes out at the beginning of next year, has a ton of success in double in the first month or two of the season, are you going to think, wow, that's big strides? Or is it just that he has now mastered a league that, at this point, maybe he should have grown out of it? Then you advance him to triple. What's he going to do there? He's going to have a big season to sort of make or break his prospect status next year. 2023 is massive for Ronny Mauricio. He does have all of the talent in the world. And at one point, I'd set a comp that I still think actually holds some merit here with Mauricio, and that's calling him a Joey Gallo. I think his future might be in right field where the athleticism might be able to comfortably play more than playing him at a premium position like shortstop or even third base. Get him in right field, maybe hopefully you trust a little bit of that athleticism in the arm, hopefully can play a little more out there. That's an option. And then the profile compared to Gallo to me was more just about the fact that, and honestly, Gallo is a really good offensive player. So who knows if Mauricio can even be that when it comes to, playing in a corner in the outfield. But the bat, I mean, can he draw walks? I think is the big question, because what Gallo does is he has at least, and he certainly hasn't had a good year, but when he was at his best, even though he didn't hit for the highest of averages, he drew his walks and then he hit his home runs. I mean, there's no doubt that if Ryan Mauricio tapped into all of his power at the big league level, got 650 plate appearances, there is a chance that he would hit 40 home runs. He has that potential, but he might strike out 270 times to get there. And he might be giving you such bad at-bats in the process that it's not worth it to play him. So you're in a really weird spot with this one prospect in particular, because I think he is considered by some a top 100 prospect, but there's nowhere near consensus on him because you either love Ronny Mauricio or you hate Ronny Mauricio. There's not much in between with him at this point. So I'm going to be very curious where he goes. I think looking at his season as a whole, you could say it's maybe slightly disappointing, just because he hasn't made great strides in some of the areas where there's been some concerns. Whereas you look at a Brett Baty, and we talked about some of his issues last year and coming into the beginning of this season. And what did he do by the end of the year? He was lifting more. He was pulling a little bit more. He wasn't hitting as much on the ground. And that led to success and ultimately led to a promotion to the big league. So you want to see some more growth out of Ryan Mauricio. I just don't know if it's going to come yet. But they still have three other prospects that I like, probably more than him, honestly. We're going to talk about those guys in just a minute. But first, summer's winding down. The nights are getting longer, but the breeze isn't the only thing getting stiff. That's right, folks. This episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, we all know that confidence can take you far in life. That's especially true in the bedroom, especially when it's time to step up to the plate, and that's where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. So no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and are prepared to ship direct to your door in a discreet package. With Blue Chew, men everywhere are excited to see the postman, because when your package arrives, your package arrives. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use our promo code Locked On at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. Again, that is BlueChew.com, promo code Locked On to receive your first month for free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. Getting back to our Friday farm report, Alex Ramirez is a guy that I really want to talk about, because I look at the Mets farm system right now, and outside of Francisco Alvarez, I don't know if there's anyone that has a higher ceiling than Alex Ramirez, a potential 5-tool center fielder who has fared pretty well this season at 19. First, start to the year at 67 games in low A. He hit 284, 359 on base, 443 slugging, 802 OPS, 13 doubles, 6 triples, 6 home runs, 37 RBIs, and he stole 17 bases, although he was caught 9 times. You look at what he's done now in high A, again, when he's way younger than anyone at 19, 271 hitter, love that, 325 on base, which obviously I think will improve as he gets there a little bit longer. He stays down there and continues to progress, and I think he's going to spend some time in high A next year. 429 slugging, 754 OPS. He has been caught stealing 6 times while only swiping 4 successfully, but he has 16 doubles, 1 triple, 5 home runs, still hitting for pop at that level. And we saw last year a prospect like Jalen Plummer who went from low A to high A, and he's fallen off a cliff. Alex Ramirez has continued to be a productive ball player. Next year, I don't know exactly where they're going to slate him in. Like I said, I imagine he starts in high A and can earn that quick promotion to double and spend all of next year or most of next year in double if they don't just get really aggressive and put a then 20-year-old right up into those high levels of the Mets farm system. But then you're looking at 2024 and AAA big leagues are possibilities for him. And when you're talking about a team that has Brandon Nimmo as a free agent, Mark Canha has 1 more year left. Starling Marte, 3 more years, but he's in his 30s. You need someone to burst onto the scene as an outfielder. And this year, Alex Ramirez has done just that. When the Mets graduate, Alvarez, they already graduated Baty, but when he spends all of next year at the big league club, and Mauricio Vientos as well, I think Alex Ramirez will be the top overall prospect in the Mets farm system, by mid 2023. That's how good he's going to be. Now, you look at the other 2 guys, Kevin Parada and Jett Williams. It was good that the Mets went out and got these guys because they need to infuse this farm system with some position players that can help them. And obviously looking at Kevin Parada, who can be up closer. And actually there is a chance that Parada could be the top overall prospect in the Mets season or Mets farm system by midseason next year instead of Ramirez. That's how good he is. And you look at what he has done. He spent 3 games in rookie ball and then decided to just put him up into Port St. Lucie. With Port St. Lucie, he is only hitting 191, but that's in, 21 at-bats, 30 plate appearances. But that is the big thing to me. 8 walks drawn in 30 plate appearances. So he has a 400 on base percentage in his first real taste of professional pitching. Next year, imagine he starts the season in low A, but he will be in double A quickly, and he can rise through the Mets farm system very, very fast. Whether that means Parada and Alvarez, being the 2 catchers that are sharing the backstop and they're maybe getting time at DH, whether that means Parada is, taught how to play like a left field just to see if they can get his bat somewhere else. I don't know if they would even consider that because he has a lot of value as a catcher, but I'm just thinking that he's probably a little more athletic than an Alvarez to stick at a different position. Or if that means that he becomes a trade chip for the Mets, maybe next deadline, Parada can get you something huge. But he's really important to the Mets farm system. And then we close it out with Jett Williams here. Williams, 18 years old. He's only playing rookie ball. I don't imagine we see him in low A this year, obviously. And 10 games played in rookie ball, fared pretty well, 366 on base percentage, 803 OPS, had a home run, had a triple, has a double, 6 stolen bases, has not been caught. Next year is going to be interesting to see how he fares playing. I would imagine the whole year in Port St. Lucie, and then you see how he progresses. But we talk about guys with tools. Jett Williams has all the tools you would want, and that's why he was drafted with the 14th overall pick in this last draft. I think that if we're talking about the Mets farm system as a whole, you might graduate, as I've already mentioned a bunch here, Alvarez, Baty, and Vientos next year. Mauricio, I don't love as a prospect. The future of the Mets farm system when it comes to position players right now, as we see it presently constructed, in my opinion, it lies with Alex Ramirez, Kevin Parada, and Jett Williams. We'll see how all those guys finish out their year and progress into next season. But we got a trap series to discuss. Mets versus Marlins this weekend. Got to talk about the big league club a little bit. I should be confident in this one, but I'm not because it's the Marlins in September. Before we get to that, though, betonline.net, is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting to scores and podcasts. They have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. So the New York Mets have their series against the Miami Marlins this weekend that I'm viewing as the ultimate trap series, and I'll explain why. First off, the Braves are playing the Seattle Mariners, a playoff team. The Mets are playing the Marlins, who they have handled well this year, and they should beat up on. That is a trap. Trap. That scares me. It shouldn't, but it does. Marlins in September always scares me. Now, it gets a little bit deeper than that because you look at the pitching matchups, and Edward Cabrera is going for the Marlins. Young starter, only 9 starts so far this year. 2.39 ERA, 55 strikeouts, 1.06 WHIP. He's been really good. Yet to face the Mets this season. That to me always is scary. I don't know why. It's just the way I feel. Game 2, Pablo Lopez trapped for another reason. The Mets have faced him this year, and they beat up on him. He gave up 6 earned runs against the Mets on June 17th. He then had a good outing on July 8th, but only lasted 5 innings. And then against the Mets on July 31st, he did not make it out of the third and gave up 6 earned runs. So you would say Mets have handled him well. They should once again do that, but he's also a really good pitcher, and we would not be surprised at all if he found some success for the Mets to close out the year, or against the Mets, I should say. Then you got Jesus Lazardo, who has been red hot since coming off the injured list. He made his, I don't want to call it a season debut because it wasn't, but just his reintegration into the Marlins in the beginning of August. Pitched to a 2.97 ERA in 6 starts there across 36 and a third with 32 strikeouts. Then he just went out against the Phillies, a good team, and went 7 innings, allowing just 2 earned runs. I really should have won that game if not for some just terrible play behind him. Lazardo's a good pitcher, left-handed starter as well. Don't love that. And the Mets, here are the 3 they're rolling out. Carlos Carrasco, been good against the Marlins this year. I'm painting the story too of why the Mets should beat them, and also why that doesn't make me confident, which is obviously a backwards way of thinking. It's a pessimistic view. I'm usually not that guy, but it's the Marlins in September, folks, and I don't like the Marlins in September. So you look at what Carrasco has done against the Marlins this year. June 17th, he allows 3 earned runs over 6 and a third. Pretty solid outing. July 9th, allows 2 earned runs over 5 and 2/3. Then last time out against the Marlins, July 30th, goes 7 and 2/3, 4 hits allowed, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, no earned runs. He should start Friday, we would imagine. Actually, if not him, it could be David Peterson starting on Friday and Carrasco starting on Saturday. They can line that up however they would like to. Peterson has been solid this year against Miami, had 2 consecutive starts against them in June. First one did not give up a run over 5 and a third, had 7 strikeouts to 2 walks, allowed 6 hits. Next time out, 7 innings pitched, 2 earned runs allowed, gave up a homer, but had 8 strikeouts to no walks. Imagine he should throw the ball pretty well against them again, because honestly, that lineup is not good in Miami. Go to Taijuan Walker. His stats against the Marlins this year: consecutive starts June 18th, June 24th, allowed 1 run over 6 and 2/3, then allowed 3 runs over 6 innings, and then his most recent start, actually has 2 most recent starts against the Marlins. July 10th, 7 shutout, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, and then on the 31st, 3 earned runs over 5 and 2/3, only 4 strikeouts to 2 walks. Those are your 3. And that's why I also go back to a little bit of a trap, because let's really think about it here. You're not seeing Chris Bassett. You're not seeing Jacob deGrom and Scherzer's on the IL. This is the back half of your rotation going against this Marlins team in Miami. We'll see what the Mets do. But someone that lives in South Florida that has seen it all, I'm getting out of town, quite literally, this weekend, going on a vacation so that I don't have to watch these games in person. I mean, that was kind of a happy accident with how things planned out. I didn't really attempt to avoid Miami, but I am happy that I did. And I'm hoping the Mets can prove me wrong. Not that I really think that they aren't going to handle business. They should. But there's that pessimism in me, a longtime South Florida resident that has Had his heart broken here too many times. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But that's going to be all for today's edition of Locked On Mets. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets. Thank you for making Locked On Mets your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On MLB, hosted by Paul Francis Sullivan. Locked On MLB is where you want to go to stay up to date with everything going on in Major League Baseball. You follow Locked On MLB wherever you get podcasts.